Yeah, let's jump in. Officially can say welcome to everybody for the 24-25 Pando Days project premieres. My name's Matthew. Some of you heard already that I am affiliated with USC. I'm a faculty member there at Iovine and Young Academy, so it's nice to have some of our Trojans in the room as well. I also run a practice in Los Angeles called Very Nice, and I am also a longtime Pando maniac. So I am co-hosting the Pando Days 24-25 premiere events with my dear friend and collaborator, Eugene Shirley, who you just saw on the screen. We're trading off hosting these events over the next few weeks. And so I definitely encourage you to come and drop in and see what some of the other schools have been up to as well. There's a lot of really, really cool projects. And today, each team or the team that's sharing is going to be given 15 minutes to be able to share a summary of their project, and then we're going to have 20 to 30 minutes for a real casual, open dialogue with our panel of experts as well. These are recorded, as you can see, and in early 2025, the recordings along with the project materials are all going to be posted on a dedicated web page for each team on pandopopulous.com. So definitely keep an eye out for that. It'll be a great summary again of what all the other schools have also been up to. The projects are then going to be judged by a distinguished panel of specialists with honors and prizes and networking opportunities galore at the Pando Awards in April. So that's April 27th. Make sure you mark that on your calendars. We hope to see you there. And without further ado, we should get started. Excited, again, to keeping it in the family today with USC. This team led by Alex Robinson. The USC teams have always had really great projects with Pando, and this year the team's back with their test plot project. A project that's been really fun to watch develop and evolve over time as well. So, this year's test plot focuses on fostering resilience through the restoration of a precious endemic landscape in Northeast Los Angeles, beginning with a collaborative repair of an endangered black walnut woodland and ephemeral stream in Rainbow Canyon, completed with over 70 volunteers, 6 partners, 175 plants, and extensive public engagement. Super impressive, really excited about this project. And Alex, want to turn it over to you to tell us a little bit more.
Thanks, Matthew. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Um, I'm going to actually let my students tell you everything about this project, but we're going to get started. I think I need to share my screen to do that. And so, does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Um, and just very, very quickly, I'm an associate professor at the School of Architecture in the Landscape Architecture and Urbanism program. And I normally do research on the LA River, but this is kind of a side research project working on the test plot initiative. But just very briefly, we're going to have an agenda. Here's our agenda. We have 5 parts, and Tatiana is going to take it away for the introduction.
All right, thank you. So, what is TestPlot? It's a nonprofit organization with nearly a dozen plots statewide. It is an ongoing hands-on experiment in community-based ecological restoration. Welcome to Rainbow Canyon, our test plot restoration site. We would like to acknowledge that this site is on the traditional homeland of the Gabrielino Tongva people. Nestled in northeast Los Angeles, Rainbow Canyon represents a small sliver of parkland in a major metropolitan area. The canyon is home to the endangered native California black walnut woodland. With local care and stewardship, this site can reach its utmost potential as a community reserve and ecological sanctuary. The canyon lies between West Avenue 44 and West Avenue 45 in Mount Washington. Between West Avenue 45 and Rainbow Canyon are local homes which are separated from the canyon by a mosaic of wood fences. The elevated switchback trails lie off West Avenue 44 and zigzag downwards into large open clearings shaded by the tree canopy. It was advocacy by the Mount Washington community to preserve local natural habitat that led to the public acquisition of the canyon in 1991. Led in part by the late environmental advocate Claire Martyr Kenyon, the canyon was saved from being auctioned off due to unpaid property taxes and brush clearance fees. There are many challenges associated with restoration in an urban environment that we hope to address with our project, such as fire safety concerns, habitat disturbance, destructive stormwater, development, and of course, climate change.
Our efforts towards Rainbow Canyon could not have been accomplished without the generous assistance and supplies from Community Nature Connection, MRCA, Mount Washington Alliance, Tree People, Plant Material, Chaminade College Preparatory, LA City Council Member District 1, Pando, Tesla, and the USC School of Architecture. Our interdisciplinary team consisted of 7 students from undergraduate to graduate programs in environmental studies, geodesign, and landscape architecture and urbanism, including Alex Robinson, who taught our test plot course at USC. The question we are posing: how can we reimagine local care traditions to initiate and foster community resilience and connection? Inspired by Pando's emphasis on creating connection, our test plot in Rainbow Canyon proposes to reformulate land care traditions and attract communities to collectively build resiliency and connection now through the repair of a neglected urban canyon. The action serves as the foundation for an ongoing land care and resiliency efforts, including fire safety and education, natural stormwater infrastructure, and transit connections. Our test plot in Rainbow Canyon also responds to multiple Los Angeles County goals that are listed here. To achieve this goal, we first began by taking a deep dive into various topics pertaining to the Mount Washington neighborhood and Rainbow Canyon. We then participated in a series of exercises that we performed on Rainbow Canyon that allowed us to individually explore and allowed us to gain a deeper understanding of the site through its pronounced and nuanced qualities. For example, we made a cognitive map and created a photo montage of photographs we collected.
When it comes to our resiliency strategies, we wanted to theme it around communal restoration, noticing some of our site conditions such as the endangered black walnuts, watershed health concerns, fire resiliency, and wilderness connectivity. When it came to endangered black walnuts and the general biodiversity overall, we wanted to do a planting restoration. We drafted multiple designs, compiled plant lists, such as the black walnuts and other native plants we could put in, where the test spots could go, types of fencing we will use, and as well as a lot of materials to really engage the volunteers during the planting day, just to make the overall day more fun. And when it comes to the Rainbow Canyon hydrology, we wanted to take a look at the runoff, pollution, and erosion. We have an ephemeral stream here that seasonally floods when the rain comes, usually from uphill, passing by the self-realization headquarters parking lot and some of the construction sites further uphill. That pollution and runoff goes into our upper canyon through the storm drain into our lower canyon before going to the streets and finally entering the Arroyo Seco, tributary to the Los Angeles River. At our lower canyon, we wanted to test several things like the pH, temperature, nutrient, soil erosion, and laboratory testing because we want to find solid evidence of pollution and erosion, which we can then apply for Measure W for some funding with proposals for green infrastructures. When it comes to fire resiliency, Mount Washington is actually a very high fire hazard severity zone, and with that, we want to test the idea of planting fire resilient and fire retardant plants, and this idea of defensible space, incremental 5 feet, 30 feet, 100 feet buffers around properties, about the idea of maintaining clean and clear driveways, branches, brushes, making sure there's not a lot of exotic plants in general to keep fire hazard down. We planted some plants like the California wild rose, toyons, and desert wild grapes in the lower green area you can see on the right side of the sign as our fire resilient plant test plot. For our trails and connectivity, the whole theme is to really make the place feel a lot more welcome for anybody that's coming by, whether just for a wilderness walk or passing through a mere about 10 minutes walk to the metro station, 5 minutes of your speed walking, and onto our Mormon streets. We really wanted to spruce up the place through some cleaning of trash, making sure the trails are nice, really just making sure the overall aesthetic maintains the natural wilderness and just making it more wholesome for anybody passing through.
And now on to our actual design. So our goal was to transform the space into a landscape of healing, restoring both the land and community. Through innovative nature-based strategies, we aim to create a model for urban ecosystem restoration in Los Angeles and in Mount Washington. This project goes beyond creating a park. By restoring the natural ecosystem, we're setting the stage for Rainbow Canyon to serve as a hub for community land stewardship. It will not only showcase the beauty of a thriving black walnut woodland, but inspire broader ecological restoration efforts across the region. So what exactly are we testing here? The focus is on finding local solutions through co-learning, a key aspect of stewardship. The approach emphasizes innovative nature-based and ecological strategies, which have the potential for failure, but will be powerful if they succeed. In this design process, we have identified different plant palettes related to specific conditions, and also ways of planting that cover a wide range of site-specific needs, as you see here. Allelopathy, for those that are unaware, is the black walnuts inhibit their surrounding growth under their understory. So we're testing which plants would survive under that condition. The plant list included, we had around 175 plants from 41 different species. We curated it and tailored it to the unique conditions and prioritized each ecological benefit, such as erosion control, fire resistance, or supporting native wildlife. Our design consists of strategic planting zones to maximize ecological impact. Here's where they were all located. And starting with the switchback plot, so this hillside plot stabilizes the steep terrain with plants designed for erosion control. It also enhances visitor experience, creating beautiful, colorful scenery as you ascend and descend the canyon. The understory plot is beneath the canopy of black walnuts, which integrates shade-tolerant plants and transitional species. It demonstrates how we can harmonize planting with the natural gradients of light and space within the woodland itself. And lastly, our riparian and fire plots. So these plots showcase riparian vegetation thriving along the recently daylit stream, create water-loving ecosystem all the way set back from the border of the properties to the northeast, about 30 feet and 100 feet. We have a fire buffer plot as well that protects nearby homes, demonstrating how this landscape can be fire resilient.
Community building is our most important strategy for resiliency and long-term care of Rainbow Canyon. A central part of Test Plot and this project is rebuilding community connections around land care. Before beginning our work in Rainbow Canyon, our team underwent native restoration training at the Catalina Island Test Plot. This was also a team-building exercise with our primary partners, including Community Nature Connection, an environmental nonprofit situated in Mount Washington. On our site preparation day on October 26, 2024, volunteers conducted weeding, invasive species removal, trash removal, site maintenance, and debated design options for the new test plot. Volunteers had the opportunity to show us with rope and drawings where they would add a test plot to the space. With our volunteers, we were able to not only envision the future of Rainbow Canyon, but hear stories from its past. The test plot log is a way to virtually connect the community to every test plot restoration site and share updates. I was able to share my impressions of the preparation day in this log post. Through the test plot log, we can continue to track Rainbow Canyon's transformation.
Our volunteer planting day was on December 8th from 12 to 4 p.m. We started our community outreach and advertising early by plastering the neighborhood with these flyers, place them inside mailboxes, and post this on social media and hand it out at the community events. No. We started our We started our exciting planning day by preparation. In order to achieve a successful day, we laid out all the plans, assigned roles to each team members, provided snacks and waters, and also prepped gopher cages. Partner City and CD1 provided us huge support on equipment, porta potty, and mulch. Not only just planting, we also want to engage and educate the community by providing fun activity sheets, history exhibits, resiliency handouts, and outreach posters. Fun activity sheets not only guide volunteers through their activities, but also bring them motivations. And with volunteer engaged, we heard their opinion about the future of the canyon and their story about the canyon. At noon, volunteers started to arrive. Javier from Community Nature Connection presented us with a planting demo, and we started planting. We started by digging, planting, watering, a lot of mulching. Then we do watering and fencing. Not only just working, we also saw lots of old and new connection like mingling. And lots of conversation and chats happening around our information table. After all these brilliant work and fun chats, we finished early with our thank yous and giving out our merch raffles. After the long day, our teammate Tatiana was really glad to show her finding of the energy of volunteers carrying heavy buckets of mulch and water over and over again. And people show their passion and enthusiasm to the canyon more than just today. The most frequently asked question at the information table was, how can I continue to help out and keep this project alive after today? And our teammate Jeff was really worried about whether people would come or not on a Sunday afternoon before planting day just started. Finally, his initial concern of can we even do this evolved to what can we do more near the end of the planting day. In that short 4 hours, 73 plus volunteer was involved. We planted 160 plus native plants, put up over 300 feet of fences, poured 1,000 gallons of water, and walked around 1 million of steps, and climbed around 5,000 flights. With the community's enthusiasm and active participation, we look forward to organizing more events like this and contributing to a bright future of the canyon.
To build on our amazing planting day, we plan to continue working with community members and partnerships. Through innovative solutions and public funding, we aim to create a rainbow canyon that is envisioned by the community. As shown by Sally, one of our activities asked volunteers to vote on their favorite themes regarding the future of the canyon. From their votes, the most popular were to continue community collaboration and access to nature, keeping the canyon as wild as possible, and using the park to improve stormwater runoff. Though we did create an improvised check dam during our planting day, we aim to expand on these efforts to develop resilient nature-based infrastructure using funding from Measure W. Measure W is a property tax on impervious surfaces that funds stormwater initiatives that improve water quality, increase local water supply, and provide community benefits. Our project tackles all of these initiatives, planning to create various spreading grounds from a series of check dams to boost water infiltration, minimize street flooding, and foster a riparian biodiversity to be enjoyed by the community. We are currently working on a proposal to present for a future feasibility study, including water testing, schemes, analysis, and collaboration with stakeholders. As Rainbow Canyon grows, we intend to do the same by building alliances. Several schools, including Nightingale Middle School and the Mount Washington Elementary School, are close to the plot, all of which are dominated by asphalt schoolyards. We intend to reach out to local schools to lead nature learning opportunities and foster a communal connection to local biodiversity by engaging in bird watching and nature logging. We also hope to expand community partnerships to ensure the inclusion of all voices and build on the future of the canyon. In honor of Claire Martyr Kenyon, who passed away last December, we will place a dedicated bench. Claire was a lifelong community activist and a beacon of inspiration who helped shape environmental policies to preserve open spaces across Northeast LA. To ensure her legacy is never forgotten, we are working with the MRCA and the Mount Washington Alliance to construct a bench that will overlook the canyon as a symbol of hope for future conservation efforts. The ultimate goal of our plot is to continue advancing collective stewardship and uplifting historically marginalized communities. Test Plot started in 2019 and has since established a network of plots across the Northeast LA area. In the process, they have built local connections to ecologically degraded parks and ensured long-term restoration efforts. Rainbow Canyon will be an added biodiversity hub in a fragmented landscape. By restoring a former black walnut woodland and making room for a seasonal river, we will mitigate the rapid consequences of climate change while increasing access to native landscapes. Our efforts will transform the canyon into a vibrant crossroads for community connection, environmental health, and lasting resilience. Thank you.
All right, nice job, team. I really love the way that you lay out your process in this. It tells such a great story, and just that alone as a deliverable is something that you can turn to for future projects and is a great resource of how holistic this was. Not too many, I guess, pebbles in the canyon unturned, you could say, but excited to hear from our panel now and actually be able to introduce them to you all. We've got about 20 to 30 minutes for some back and forth discussion around the project, things that stood out, how you might sort of assess this or move this forward in some kind of way as well. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of really great discussion. We've got with us today Benita, SJ, and Tom. Really grateful for all of you for joining us. Benita is coming to us from the Metropolitan Water District, which essentially is the water wholesaler in the region. She is the education programs team manager, is a graduate from UC Santa Barbara, and has her MBA from Pepperdine as well. Another member of the Pando Days community, from whom we'll all be hearing later in the season as well. So SJ is joining us from an organization she's affiliated with, Amigos de los Rios, a longtime Pando partner. And and Amigos is very actively involved in the region on community-based watershed and green infrastructure projects as well. And then we also have Tom. Tom is with the Urban Water Group, where he focuses on designing drought-resilient landscapes. He's a licensed landscape architect, holds a degree in architecture from Berkeley, and got his MBA at USC, so also in the family right here. Stormwater is a special area of interest for him, so very excited to get all of your perspectives. Benita, why don't we have you kick us off with any, again, initial reactions, recommendations for the project, things that stood out, or just questions and comments in general. And then after that, we can kick it over to SJ and Tom.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to sit in on your presentation. I shared with Eugene that Metropolitan used to have a college grant program where we awarded students grants on water conservation or water use efficiency, and USC, I think over the 20 years received, I think we had at least 5 USC teams, and it was always a pleasure to work with the students because they were also going to be very robust research like the program that you presented today. So right now, I don't have any questions. I just want to let you know that we're a resource. We work a lot with the Council for Watershed Health. We've done some work with Debs Park. And one of our newest initiatives is working more with marginalized communities. So any way that we can be a resource to you or the schools that you're trying to work with, we'd be happy to try to provide resources, information, data, research, field trips, anything you think you might need that we can be in service to your program, we'd like to try to help in some way.
That's amazing, Benita. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then let's see, Tom, you're off mute. What do you think?
Sure. Well, fantastic, Alex, and your team. Very professional presentation, very thorough. The discussion of your process, and you pretty much hit all of the points and the directions in a very succinct and easy to follow manner. So excellent job. Very definitely something you'd expect from professionals. So you guys are well on your way in terms of your future and whatever design field that you're going to go into. Also, just for full disclosure, I am also an instructor at the UCLA Extension Landscape Architecture Certificate Program, where I teach stormwater as well as plant studies. Really excited to see the work that you guys are doing. I think it's fantastic. I also been following Test Plot on Instagram for some time now, and your work is very aligned with the type of work that we do. I would love to hear a little bit more about a couple of things, your next steps. Number one, how you plan on monitoring your project going forward to address some of the issues of biodiversity and stormwater capture and carbon sequestration. What kind of metrics are you potentially looking at?
Thanks, Tom. I guess I'll jump in with some of these because I've been I've had some side conversations in addition to what I've told the students. But we are, looking at some of our students, especially Jeff, looked really carefully at what kind of monitoring we can do for stormwater. So we have some plans for that were mentioned in there, like getting a hold of some of the water during a storm event and recording the storm events. We have videos of the storm events, a lot of sediment coming out of here. But I think we're monitoring and we're going to hopefully do some water quality monitoring with the Environmental Studies program at USC, maybe with Borough Happel. Eugene has connected us with them. We're also we have a site visit with the Council for Watershed Health. So we're getting, some momentum there to kind of measure the water situation. We also have we've made this an iNaturalist kind of hub. So we have we have already a really active 11 or 12-year-old kid who's been monitoring this area and posting nonstop on iNaturalist. So we've been starting to really get a great collection of what's in here. And I think, we're interested at USC just in our program and engaging with this site more. I'm doing drone scans of it. So we're able to kind of maybe see a time lapse of what happens here. We've been working with Scott Applebaum in the Environmental Studies program to see what we can measure in these test plots, and doing that at our last test plot in Catalina. So I think we'll hopefully bring over some of those methodologies to this one. Is there anything else you wanted me to answer on that question?
Fantastic. Really that question of biodiversity, you mentioned iNaturalist. Are there some other things that potentially having wildlife cams or any kind of way to track who's coming in and out, the critters, and also the plant diversity and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think we want to get a wildlife cam. I remember thinking about that. It's a great reminder. I think I think we want, and we're also going to keep track of what plants survive. Mark really worked very hard on the plant list, and we went for really diverse selection rather than just the kind of biomass plants. And so we're expecting some plant failure, but we're hoping we can kind of expand the biodiversity of this piece of land significantly by pushing the limits a little bit on what you might try. And see what survives. And so far, everything has done well except for a couple plants that got eaten by something. But I guess that's maybe a good sign. There's a customer.
And just one other quick question. How about measuring soil biology, mycorrhizae and diversity, that kind of thing, bacterial to fungal improvements? Really what's going on in the soil is so critical, and I think it would be great to see how quickly it recovers, and given what you're doing.
That's a great idea, and I think that's something that Scott has been doing a little bit of that at the project and on Catalina. I don't think we've done mycorrhizal. That would be great. I love that suggestion. We'll look
Awesome.
into.
Thanks, Tom. Let's throw it to SJ, and then we can circle back.
Hey everyone. Yeah, that was a really inspiring and really great project to listen to. I agree with Tom and Benita. It was really easy to follow. And it brought up so many. I'm already excited to talk to you all about it. Also, to introduce myself, I'm an architect and an artist, and I've been working with this nonprofit called Amigos de los Rios for 4 years now. And we work along the San Gabriel River, Rio Hondo River, essentially the San Gabriel Valley and the mountains as well, what we call the Emerald Necklace. And we do like urban forestation, school greening, and park projects. So a lot of the elements that you bring up are things that I'm, kind of doing along with our work. I was particularly interested, maybe this is more of my architecture background, in that cognitive map that you started off mentioning, mapping and kind of those preliminary ways of how you were in two ways, interacting with the community, starting off that connection. I think the community having this connection to the land and this urge to continue working is really exciting and essential for any preservation of, it takes so much work just to maintain this kind of project. So it's cool to see that you started early on working with the community. And I'd be curious to learn more about how those engagements, the initial engagements, went for you and how they've developed and how maybe they will move forward in the future.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think, there's two parts. I mean, to that question, I think one is just the direct engagements with the site. We just, went there. I'm a big fan of putting the phone down and sort of like seeing what you see and having that direct experience with a place. I don't know if the students have anything to share about the cognitive map or this experience. Just throwing out to you guys if you have any thoughts about that first experience we had.
Hello?
Go for it, Jeff.
Okay. Since I came from environmental studies, it was really fun being the first time I was told, hey, sit down, enjoy this space, think about it just quietly by yourself for 15 minutes. Never really done that before, since I always sort of look at these spaces from a more quantitative lens, where you look at, oh, how's the erosion doing? It's like, how's the soil doing? What biodiversity do we have here? Is there invasive species? But then I don't sit down and think about, how does someone enjoy this space, or where do they want to sit? What's their favorite spot? What kind of animals pass by? Or like, hey, that's that tree, it speaks to me. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it was really fun to draw a map just to like what you see. I saw a northern mockingbird, different kinds of plants, see a weird wall of dead branches from a tree. I'm pretty sure it was alive, but it just looks really cool. It's just spaces to sit, things that help people enjoy the space. Really gives us an idea of how do we want to plan this area, where do we want to put the test spots, and in the future, say more improvements, like how do we want to lay out the trails more, where do we want to put down some stump seats just for people to come along and sit down and enjoy nature. And yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. And this is Jeff's drawing, by the way, which was on the original flyer, but we couldn't. It didn't make the cut. But yeah, and then the other thing I would just say is that yeah, like I live in the neighborhood, so and we're working with the Mount Washington Alliance, who's had a long set of like a long connection with this area, and so we were really interested in kind of getting a hold of the fabric of the historical fabric of this place. So we started to find different strands to pull on, and we eventually found the husband of the person who helped save it, and we were working with him to try to schedule a visit, and we started tracing down different people that had studied the canyon and connected to the canyon, and our first prep day to on the canyon was really just for that group of people to see if we could kind of bring those people out, and we had like a great time talking to some people who had worked on the canyon, who had planted in the canyon before. But it did seem like there had been kind of a big gap before since the initial work. So we were kind of taking over from a lot of people who had maybe aged out of doing volunteer planting day type days, but who eventually did come out for our actual planting day. So we were excited to kind of to connect that. We talked to the guy who said, "Oh, I made that path that switchback path that went up that we used to plant the upper area." So kind of grew organically, but we also kind of really try to reach out and connect to the people around us. And hopefully we'll continue to do so by having this bench that honors this person, Claire Martyr Kenyon.
Awesome work, guys. I wanted to just ask also thinking in this kind of in the lane of next steps, what you see as the future of this project or, where this might head next, either as a project or for the students too, how that might relate to maybe future things that you take on as well.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting futures for this project. I think that we're looking at, just using it as a restoration project and thinking about pushing that restoration project forward and trying to think of how we really integrate ecology and advanced practices and contemporary methodology and science into a community restoration effort. I think that's a really interesting kind of tie-in that we can get with the connection with USC, and then this connection in the neighborhood, because people were just really enthusiastic about it. So I think there's a really great, crossover there. So that I think is just an interesting trajectory for this project. And we're so excited to find a way to like kind of re-energize land care in this community. And I think that combination is part of it. So, doing that. And then also I think we're looking at, potentially getting money to deal with the stormwater issues here. Thinking about a feasibility study with Measure W. I think there's some momentum for that. So there could be a kind of interesting transformation, and one that could also be informed by our partnership with academia. And then there's other little strands. I mean, we call it a crossroads. There's all these different things that can happen here. Like the MRCA wants to use it as a fire resilience demonstration education area. We talked to someone who had a wedding here, their wedding here. And I was like, oh, well, there could be community events and artistic events. There's a guy who hosts like Indian ragas in the neighborhood. Like he could easily have one here. And so I think we kind of see it as this crossroads for all sorts of things: community resilience, restoration, just building community fabric and ecology, and eventually, like maybe stormwater infrastructure. And of course, USC is interested in using it for lots of different teaching opportunities.
That's awesome. I feel like that's definitely a like sign of a good place is that it's becoming its own thing already. But I feel like even the more impressionist kind of work or approach that you all took to kind of take in the whole place is something that as an experience for everyday people walking around, I imagine, makes us appreciate the world around us more too. So I could see you all advocating for making art in these spaces or just seeing at kind of sharing with others how to see the world that way. That drawing was great, but just what it means and what it does is pretty powerful.
I
Yeah,
would,
so
I
yeah. Oh,
was going to
Tom, yeah,
say,
go for it.
you're very looking forward to seeing how your stormwater implementation and design goes forward. And very curious as to, how much, what the breakdown will be in terms of engineering versus more application of traditional techniques. I'm a huge fan of Brad Lancaster, and I actually teach from his water saving earthworks manual, so that the students really have a basic understanding of grading and movement of water, but also that these types of interventions you can build them yourself. You can dig it. It's a kind of work that can be done with volunteers, whether it's building rain gardens or berm basins or contour berms or whatever approach you're going to take. So I'm curious to see where you think it's going to go, and how hands-on it can be versus getting a lot of equipment in there and pouring concrete.
A fair point. We may not want to get the authorities fully involved. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. Let's throw it to Betsy and Lynn.
Oh, I just had a quick question on exactly, is it like an acre, a couple acres? What's the size of the plot, more or less?
Gosh, I don't know. I should know that. It's actually a couple different parcels, and it stretches up the canyon. But I'll see if I can look that up while we're talking.
Okay, thanks.
I do a little quick measure on the Google Earth. It's around 7,000 square feet.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
It might be more than that, but I just think that, let's see, this area, it's 1.8 acres just in the lower area. So from the entrance to the house that is at the kind of top of the canyon, in this little section, it's almost 2 acres. And then there's probably another 4 or 5 acres above that.
Oh, so pretty big.
Yeah. But that upper area is quite inaccessible. The stream, it really becomes a kind of a box canyon creek. So we would, but there are different ways we could get in. So it'd be interesting to like see if we can take some role up there as well.
And the walnut forest is kind of all through the area, or?
Yeah, it's a pretty amazing walnut forest. So this is the canyon here. I just measured it, and let's go 3D. But this is the area that we worked on, and then if you go, it goes all the way. Sorry, I don't really know how to use this that well, but it goes basically all the way up here. Up this. Okay, here we go. So it goes, I think you guys see my screen here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes all the way up here where my hand is tracing.
Okay.
I have not the exact parcel outlines, but there is a kind of infamous landslide along this street in '69. A lot of houses fell in.
Oh.
And then, but we've just, our area was just here, and yeah, this is the I'll get rid of this. But anyway, that you can see that this is that's our switchback plot, and then this is our kind of central plot.
I see. Yeah, that's very helpful. You can see the amount of trees. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all these and there's all these yellow trees are almost all black walnuts. And we also planted how many black walnuts did we plant, Mark? Like 20 additional black walnuts?
Yeah, 18.
All the way like here, and we did a circle here. The community nature connection partners grew a lot of these plants from trees from the park that's on the other side, Illyria Canyon.
Uh-huh.
We were able to use native a lot of native plant stock.
Do black walnuts take a long time to grow?
I think so. Very rarely planted available in nurseries. I think they're quite slow growing. They're very resilient, and they're very particular. They like this soil system where we have this kind of combination of soils and stone that retains the moisture in this area necessary for their growth, because they're actually deciduous trees. They're only growing during the summer, which is kind of unusual for native plants.
Well, that's a wonderful resource.
Yeah.
What
for
is
for them.
what's the establishment process like? Is there someone going there to water, or how is that?
Hopefully the clouds will water the place soon. But we had a dry November, and we usually have a dry December. So we're looking at watering it. We'll be watering it until it starts raining, and then I don't think we'll water it after that. The soils are really ideal for the kind of plants that we put in there. If they can't survive without, a lot of without, this, like we need plants that can survive without a lot of supplemental care to make it in here. We're not going to baby plants that can't withstand, some dry time, or more, like the actual seasonal rainfall. But if we get a very dry year, we might coddle them a little bit more.
Makes sense.
So I really appreciated, first of all, I think it's a great project, and it looks really I think the presentation has been really wonderful. I really appreciated listening to Jeff talk a little bit about what it meant to him to be involved, and I'm just wondering if any of the other students want to share kind of why you got involved, or what this experience has, means to you, or means to you in the future.
I can go ahead and share. I'm studying environmental studies at USC, and so I'm not really coming from that landscape architecture background. Most of my things that I do are underwater, actually. And I'm also from the East Coast. I'm not from Los Angeles. I recently moved here. And this class has been all about perspective for me, changing my perspective and the way I view things. If you would have asked me if such a gem like Rainbow Canyon was just like 15 minutes from my apartment, I would have said, I don't think so. It's a big city. So discovering those spaces and really just those local communities and these local spaces that we have, and opening our eyes to them. You don't need to go to a national park to find beauty outside. You can go 15 minutes away, or just walk out your apartment door and find beauty and be connected with nature. And I think that was something really special for me, was opening my eyes up to all the incredible ecosystems and things that we have right here in such a major city.
Great. Anyone else want to share?
I think for me, coming from the design perspective, I'm in the landscape architecture program, and it's really useful and impactful for us to be able to get our hands dirty and actually plant some plants in the ground rather than placing them on diagrams on paper and on the computer. So as we're looking at graduation soon for me and some of my classmates here, I think it's just so impactful for us to have that experience and take with us in our future designs in Los Angeles, what we've learned and the importance of being able to navigate both designing and the actual implementation of that design.
That's great. Good.
Any other thoughts from the students?
are you all coming from different backgrounds? So you're coming primarily from landscape, architecture, and environmental studies, or are there other disciplines as well?
I'm kind of a part of an interdisciplinary program, geodesign at USC. So it is urban planning, spatial data, and some landscape architecture. But yeah, I think I was the only one. Everybody else was environmental science and landscape architecture.
Okay.
How was geodesign for you? Like, what was your perspective coming in from that?
Coming from geodesign, the biggest thing that I learned during my, I guess, 4 years, and just kind of how I approach Rainbow Canyon, I was really looking at it in terms of a spatial data science way. So really trying to use Alex's drone scans to assess flow paths, identify any sub watersheds within the Rainbow Canyon to kind of see how our riparian plot would develop and where we should kind of plant it. So I think that's kind of where I um, use my skills the most in this project. But just overall, I'm from East Los Angeles, and a big reason as to why I joined the class was to basically learn how to plant a garden, because I would love to bring that to East LA. We don't really have many gardens around there besides Ascot Hills, but there are a lot of vacant lots that I would love to turn into gardens, and I just really did want to learn just the step-by-step process, from the beginning to the community engagement to the actual implementation. So it was really great.
That's awesome, Nelson. Thanks for sharing. That sounds like the start of maybe next year's Pando project.
That'd be great. Yeah, you never know.
It's awesome. Yeah, and Benita had to jump off, but left a great note for you all in the chat as well. And Tom and SJ want to thank you for your time and your feedback as well. And all the students, Alex, great job. Our next event is going to be tomorrow. If you guys are curious about what some of the other schools are up to, it's December 18th, 10 to 11, and it'll be with Pierce College. They returned this year to continue work in exciting ways that builds on last year's Pando project that they had as well, a project designed to carry you away into a series of small but charming and wonderful worlds. So that's a nice little teaser for you. But thank you all for joining us today. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully. And again, look out for the updates on the website, pandopopulous.com, for the recording and the future project materials, too. Appreciate everybody's hard work.
Thank you.
Awesome
Thank
work.
you.
Thank you.
Great job,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you
all
so much.
Thank you so much. Great job, students. Thank you, jurors.